TV 11 Sports 1987 caps our basketball coverage as the Oakdale Athletic Club hosting the high school senior all-star basketball game, featuring some stars from the suburbs, including the Metro Suburban Association and the Southeastern Michigan Association, and some of the fine Detroit players from the Public School League. Hello again, everybody. Jim Shaffron, who will be joined hopefully by Perry Watson just a little while from now. This game is a half an hour earlier start than we had anticipated, and so we will have to kind of wing it a little while. Some of the stars that you're going to see, at least the starting five for the Detroiters, will be Tony Childry from Detroit Southeastern, John Taylor from Pershing, Ed Patterson from Pershing, Marcel Driver from Pershing, and Stevie Wise from Detroit Southwestern. Also an opportunity to see Johnny Woodson. No, he will not be here tonight. In fact, he was one of the ones in the promo for this game, and there were a couple of guys that will not be in action. Irvin Blair from Southeastern and Johnny Woodson from McKenzie. But I got a feeling the Suburban team is going to need a little bit of help as far as size is concerned, but they do have the size. Maybe the quickness will also help out as well. Some of the Suburban players, a couple of young men from Highland Park, Norman Williams and Lyman DePriest, a couple of guys that played their high school basketball on this floor, Charlie Wingate and Marcus Belton from Oak Park. And we have seen, of course, Mark Smith of Southfield and Sean Phillips of Southfield Lathrop, and they will be playing as well. And we're just about ready to get this game underway. The two coaches, by the way, there's two coaches on each side. Ted Gwynn, a former standout at Ferndale High School, and Hiram Harris, who we saw when we were down at the Mathai building watching Wayne State take on Orchard Lake St. Mary's. And Hiram and Ted will combine to try and get these guys a victory. On the other side, Kevin Curry, who is the son of Jim Curry, the Royal Oak Township Oakdale Athletic Club president, if you will. And Tony Hollifield was supposed to join him, the fine standout from Illinois State University and Oak Park High School. And those gentlemen will be taking the Detroit players and trying to make some semblance out of some guys with just a world of talent and trying to meld it together. Anyway, we are just about ready for the start of this one. As we mentioned, this thing is getting underway a half an hour earlier than we had anticipated. And there is a quick look at the bench that will feature the Detroit All-Stars. I also want to take this opportunity to thank Bill and Adrian and Rick and Isaiah and Joe and Vinny and all those guys for making it possible to be concentrating on this game and not thinking about Game 6 of the NBA Eastern Conference semifinals that would have been played tonight had just a couple of nights ago the Pistons not come up with a victory. And I know that I speak for Alan Blau in saying that we are very thrilled to be here with no other basketball in a very large square mile area, or radius, if you will. Just about ready to get things going as far as the starting lineups are concerned. And again, our time frame has been thrown off a little bit. We're at Oak Park High School, and earlier in the year, the gym floor collapsed, and they had to put a new floor in, and they have put the floor in, and the place just looks tremendous. The lighting is so much better, and it's just a nice facility to play basketball. Always has been, but brand new floor, and one that the Oak Park basketball team can be very proud of when they get back on the floor starting in the 1985 and the 1987-88 season. Talk about some of the Detroit All-Stars who you will see. A young man who will be playing his college basketball at Cleveland State. You'll be looking at number 31, Derek Vineyard from Detroit Southwestern, 6'5½", 200-pounder, power player who combines quickness with the ability to shoot the jumper. He will, as we mentioned, become a Viking at Cleveland State University. Marcel Driver from Pershing, 6'8", forward from Pershing. Big, strong, graceful, tremendous potential, and a gentleman by the name of Ted McGovern, who is the head coach of one of the junior colleges in our country, is a gentleman who will be looking very carefully at Marcel Driver. We have been informed, by the way, that the 20 that you see up on the scoreboard will be the way that this game is going to be played. 20-minute halves rather than 8-minute high school quarters, so they're going to increase the playing time a little bit more as well. A little bit more than the 32 minutes, up to a 40-minute basketball game, which will get both coaches an opportunity to use their entire bench. Should point out one other thing, that there are a couple of players that we will not see that I don't know if they committed or... There's Pat Collar, who our injured cameraman. I don't know how he injured it, but hopefully it was in the line of duty. Pat spending some time with us, helping us out during the football season as well. Did want to point out, though, there is a state law put in by the Michigan High School Athletic Association that states that a player cannot participate in two sports during the same season. So, in other words, there are a couple of guys who were supposed to be playing, guys that you'd be very familiar with. Clarence McMurray from Southfield, who is on the varsity baseball team, and Southfield Lathrop track, football, and basketball standout Eric Stokes, who both had, I don't want to say committed because they really didn't, because they knew the rules, but would very well be participating in this contest had the situation occurred or not occurred that they could not participate in one sport in the other one. Lyman DePriest from Highland Park being introduced. Numbers on Lyman, incredible. You're going to like Ed Pask. He's a little guy, but boy, he can stick the jumper. 6'1", the second leading rebounder all time for Hazel Park. Number one was a guy I saw when I was back in high school at Southfield High School, Terry Thomas. Mark Smith from Southfield, an all-league selection, 8 points, 10 rebounds. Sean Phillips, who had a broken finger early in the season with the Lathrop Chargers, and came on to provide a good big man backup role. There's Marcus Belton. Marcus played only half the season, but the two games that we saw on CTV 11, he was quite a force, both against Robichaud and against Highland Park. Little Charlie Wingate, who is a mighty mite with the basketball, always wearing a uniform that's a little bit on the big side. Aaron Johnson from Seaholm being introduced. We missed one. We also missed Don Kennedy, a 5'11" guard from Ferndale. And now the Detroit All-Stars, as they are being introduced by Ted Gwynn. From Southeastern, Tony Childry, an excellent offensive rebounder, runs extremely well. Problems with an outside game, but at 6'7", that is not a major concern. Ferris County being introduced, but before that, John Taylor from Pershing, a 6'2", 170-pound guard. Good quickness, explosive moves to the basket. Then Paris County, enormous ability with an excellent jab step to the basket. Shoots with either hand, possesses great range. He's from Pershing. I mentioned Tony Childry. Number 44, Ed Patterson, he'll start. 6'6", 175 from Pershing. Good shooting touch, excellent range, quick, tough basketball player. Tony Williams, number 4, point guard from Cody, an unselfish player who gives up the chance to take a higher scoring average for the betterment of the team. Tony, they say, is an excellent ball handler and a passer, and his 11.5 assists a game average will attest to that. He also averaged 12.5 points per game. Very possibly he will be attending Southern Arkansas University. See if we missed anybody. Mentioned Stevie Wise just at the beginning of the game, the most complete guard who handles the ball, passes well, a good 20-foot jump shooter, and a good defensive player. Sorry we won't see Johnny Woodson. We saw enough of him a couple of years ago if you're a Southfield fan, as he and his Mackenzie teammates almost, well, they combined to just shut down the Southfield Blue Jays. Great ball game, and indeed it was. So the starting lineups now, the center will be Marcel Driver. The forwards are going to be John Taylor and Ed Patterson, or Childry and Patterson, I should say. Taylor and Wise will be in the backcourt. Marcus Belton, Lyman DePriest, and Marty Stevens on the front line with Aaron Johnson and Norman Williams in the backcourt. And so once we get the sheets in front of us and set up, I think we're going to be ready for action in this game. Lyman DePriest will jump it up with Driver. And we're underway. Norman Williams wearing number 1, and you'll see a lot of passing between number 1 and number 23 because they are teammates for Highland Park. Norman Long left-hander by Stevens, put back up and in by Marcus Belton. Something fell onto the floor, a couple of things falling onto the floor here at Oak Park. And inbounding the basketball now for the Detroiters will be Taylor, John Taylor from Pershing. Taylor in the backcourt along with number 22, Stevie Wise. Wise will deliver it right side to Childry. And a good play by Marcus Belton on a step in front to knock it away. Aaron Johnson in the backcourt along with Norman Williams. Johnson takes the pass and the driving layup gives the Suburban All-Stars a 4-0 lead. 20-minute halves, as we mentioned. Nice dump pass inside, reverse off the glass, not any good by Childry. Got a great pass inside, though, from number 32, Marcel Driver. And the foul will go on number 14, Aaron Johnson. That'll be his first. And going to the free throw line will be Tony Childry. Just 42 seconds into this first 20-minute half. Get these guys ready for college basketball. First free throw, no good. It is now 4-1 in favor of the Suburban All-Stars. And for those of you who are hopefully watching in color, because it's going to be very difficult if you're not, because both teams are wearing the uniforms that will turn up gray and black and white TV. Good fadeaway, Marcus Belton, though. Followed up by Aaron Johnson, but that air ball was rebounded by Steve Wise. We'll get a call outside, a hold. It might be on Johnson again. No, this time it's going to go on Marty Stevens, the young man from Royal Oak Shrine. It'll be the second team foul, and I'm wondering where they're going to be as far as team fouls are concerned in this game. Are they going to play the collegiate rule or not? Good defense. His driver puts the shot up, and Belton, well, blocked out nicely on the rebound, and Johnson came down with it to Norman Williams. Norman Williams penetrates, drives, and scores. So Norman Williams becomes the third Suburban player to score. It is now 6-1, 18:20 to go in the first half. Stevie Wise moving it around, long gun by Ed Patterson, no. Ball is loose and is picked up by Stevie Wise, goes behind the back, little spin move over Johnson, in and out. Kenny puts it up and puts it down. That is Childry, that is, Tony Childry. Puts it down and he was fouled. Well, watch it again, and good movement inside the paint. You'll watch number 20, Tony Childry. Saw the end of that play. The foul went on number 32, Marcus Belton, and that is going to be his first. That's the third team foul, and Childry will go to the free throw line. Again. Misses that one, but it's rebounded by Driver, and he's tied up, and it'll be a jump ball. They're going to do jump it up. They are indeed going to jump it up. There will not be alternate possession, and that I don't understand, because it's being done in college and it's being done in the pros, in the high school level, and that is what they decide to do. Just 2 minutes into it, 6-3 is our score. You're looking at Ed Patterson, good drive, and he's going to be called for the charge. Good position that time by Marcus Belton, as he definitely took the charge by Ed Patterson. Patterson, 6'6" guard from Pershing, 6'6" guard forward from Pershing. Watch the position that Belton has. That'll be the first foul on Patterson. Same 5 out there for both teams. Just a minute, 2 minutes and 10 seconds into the first half. As we mentioned, we hope to be joined by Perry Watson shortly. Perry Watson, not only a fine football coach, or basketball coach, but a fine baseball coach is what I was going to get to. And he has a game and will be joining us shortly. Fill you in a little bit on some of the guys wearing the green uniform. We've seen a lot of the guys in the red uniforms, especially if you've been watching our coverage on CTV 11. Williams choked off of the baseline. Stevens loses the ball, and in the middle it goes. The Childry, great bounce pass, and they blew the layup. Childry picks the ball up, turns around, and scores. Childry has 5 points, all 5 of the points that have been scored. Almost a steal from DePriest and a good defensive play by Derek Vineyard. Williams trying to free himself on the baseline, can't. Now goes to Marty Stevens back up top. Lyman DePriest misses, tries to get his own rebound. Taking Ed Patterson for a ride, but here comes Ed bringing the ball up the court. The bigger they are, it doesn't matter that they're big and tall, because everybody on both these teams can handle the ball very, very well. Posting up over Belton, shot no good that time by one of the Detroit players. Aaron Johnson, great move. Aaron Johnson has 4 points, and it's now an 8-5 ball game, and we're going to get a substitution as Patterson will sit down. Uniform numbers just on the back, so we got to almost wait till they turn around and tell you that Paris Canty is in the basketball game, and he's a 6'5" guard forward out of Pershing. Long right-hander is not any good, and Williams, or rather DePriest, picks it down for Highland Park, or rather for the Suburban All-Stars, and is fouled as he went up. The foul is going to be on Paris Canty, just in the basketball game ever so briefly. We'll take a look at Lyman's drive in just a second. DePriest, what a fine young man and a fine basketball player. One of the many, many gentlemen that have come out of the camp, if you will, of Darryl Percival. We'll see it again. DePriest got the shot to go, but it didn't fall. Second one finally goes for Lyman. It's now 9-5 in favor of the red-clad Suburban All-Stars. Stevie Wise, almost a steal by DePriest. Good anticipation. Reverse up by Vineyard, not any good. Picked up by DePriest. Bad numbers on the break. DePriest called for traveling. He tried to make something happen with his teammate Williams along the baseline. It didn't work. Now we're going to get a couple of other substitutions. Number 12, Don Kennedy rather, will check into the basketball game. We believe that Anthony Williams is 00, but we're not really sure because there is a number 4 on the bench. So we have been told that it is Anthony Williams. There's a steal by Williams. He will jam. Oh my! Norman Williams is 6'2", but everybody on this basketball team can dunk it. And Williams gets another shot at it. Smartly plays it on the baseline. Couldn't do much with it. Marcus Belton, good inside move. He's called for traveling. An Adrian Dantley spin move that was not recognized. 11-5 is our score. Not the playground type of style that we anticipate seeing. A little bit more controlled, at least in the early stages. Childry loses the basketball. Here's Lyman DePriest. The layup is good. That is 3 points for Lyman DePriest in a 13-5 basketball game. Ball loose in the middle. Belton picks it up. Here's Williams. He wants the jam. He's going to give it to his teammate. So 2 polar bears combining for a basket, and right now the undermanned Detroit All-Stars call a timeout with 15:03 to go in the first half. It's 15-5 for the Suburban All-Stars. A very, very good beginning. Just want to remind you that every Wednesday you see it live right here on CTV 11 with your host Diana. It's called Shores of Your Mind, and it has no question about it become one of the more watched programs on CTV 11. Let's go in the huddles and see what's going on.
Keep pushing. You all right? Yeah, I've seen that. Kid down there.
Not very much. Interesting sight there. As one of the coaches, Ted Gwynn, goes from his huddle down to the other huddle. I thought only the San Diego Chicken could do something like that. 15:03 to go, and the scoring has been balanced. All 5 of the starters have scored. Williams, unofficially, because I'm keeping him, has 4. Johnson has 4. DePriest has 5, and Belton has 2. I don't think that adds up to 15. Yeah, it does add up to 15. And Tony Childry, number 20 for the Detroit All-Stars has all 5 of their points. See if there are any changes. See how quickly the coaches will tend to change in this basketball game. Into the contest, we mentioned Don Kennedy in the game, so he was in there during the timeout. Anthony Williams, number 4. So we are going to assume that 00 is Roderick Davis. And Roderick Davis puts the shot up, and whoa, how about that tip jam by Marcel Driver? The first non-Tony Childry points of the basketball game. 15-7, under 15 minutes to go in the first half. The Priest is called for traveling. Well, one thing is for sure, the old cliche of let him play will not be heard here tonight. Well, that was power basketball right there. Derek Vineyard was fouled. We will check the Suburban foul. Well, it will be on Marcus Belton, and on Marcus that will be his first. Check it, it'll be his second. So he will sit down. At the free throw line is Paris Canty, young man from Pershing High School, and they had a great season this year. Another substitution, Mark Smith from Southfield High School will come in. Lyman DePriest will sit down. And Ed Pask is getting ready to check into the game, and you'll like the way he shoots the J. Got him off. So it is now a 15-9 basketball game. Williams. Pass was blocked and picked up by Canty again. Paris Canty was fouled by Norman Williams as he tried to cut off the inside, the drive for him. And Williams will pick up his first foul. And back to the free throw line goes Paris Canty. Good ambidextrous basketball player, 6'5", 185-pounder. Got him both, so he has 4 free throws. And it's now a 4-point basketball game. They scored the last 6. It was 15-5, 14-10 to go in the first half. Marty Stevens fadeaway not any good. Kennedy puts it up. Would have counted had it gone, but it didn't, so it won't. And another Detroit foul, and it's going to be on, we'll have to check it. Did not see on whom the foul was called. The foul was on 00, Roderick Davis. At the free throw line will be Don Kennedy, a man who played his high school basketball at Ferndale. Got them both. First 2 for Kennedy, and it's a 17-11 basketball game. On the baseline, the drive by Anthony Williams was choked off there by Sean Phillips, and Sean Phillips will pick up his first foul of the basketball game. Another substitution, Charlie Wingate will come in, replacing Norman Williams. So it's Wingate. They got a little lineup in there right now. Davis to back outside to Derek Vineyard. Inside move. Nice sweet touch off the glass. 4 for Driver. Having trouble handling the basketball is Hall, who I misspoke as, might have misspoke as Marcus Belton a minute ago. Pass on the baseline, no 3-second call there. Hall blocks it once, blocks it again. And the other representative from Ferndale, 6'5", Kevin Hall, their starting center, called for the foul. Lot of opportunities that time for block shots. Hall had the first one, and then he and Sean Phillips teamed up that time to foul Anthony Williams, who will go to the line and shoot 2. Anthony Williams, Tony Williams, if you will, a 6-foot point guard from Cody. Misses the second. 17-14, the Suburban All-Stars in the lead. Wingate's long pass goes off the glass, chased down by Sean Phillips, but the ball was out of bounds before Sean got there. He will say one of the Detroiters tipped it, and so Sean will trigger the inbounds. Smith and Hall, Wingate. Kennedy. Ball stripped away and stolen away by Derek Vineyard. Vineyard will drive and throw the ball out of bounds. That pass was intended for Roderick Davis. So now it's getting a little bit sloppy as the starters have been replaced by members of the bench, although all these guys have been starters on their basketball team, with the possible exception is Sean Phillips and maybe one or two others. Wingate found Kennedy. Kennedy couldn't find the basket. Pass right to center court to Paris Canty. Cutting off. He cut off the drive, though, most definitely that time, and now Ed Pask will come into the game, and Tony Childry will check back in for the Detroit All-Stars. And to the line will go Marcel Driver. Driver in the basketball game with 4 points. The foul went on number 12. That was Don Kennedy's first foul. 17-15 now, as Driver has 5. Second shot is not any good, so both teams having their problems from the free throw line. Ed Pask gets the ball down to Phillips, off the glass and on the board. Sean Phillips takes a nice pass from Ed Pask. And it is 19-15 now, the Suburban All-Stars. Back in control a little bit. Pask and Wingate should be an interesting guard combination. Charlie Wingate will pick up his first foul, the umpteenth team foul on the Suburban All-Stars. And to the line will go Paris Canty, who is 4 out of 4 from the free throw line. That's where he has all of his points. As we mentioned, not really too many splits the pair that time. As we mentioned, not too many college scouts or recruiting type folks are around at this point in time. There are a lot of other all-star games that these guys will be seen at, though. And we're going to get a 3-second call as Kevin Hall spent a little bit too much time in the red paint. 19-16 is the score. The Detroit All-Stars hanging tough. 12 minutes to go in the first half. On the baseline and out of bounds steps Marcel Driver. The All-Stars from the suburbs have Ed Pask of Hazel Park, Charlie Wingate of Oak Park, and we're going to get a travel call. Mark Smith of Southfield and the two Ferndale participants, number 12 Don Kennedy and number 50 Kevin Hall. As they handle the ball, we'll reintroduce you to Paris Canty, number 15. 00 is Roderick Davis. Number 20 with a basketball, Tony Childry. On the baseline, Marcel Driver, he can't get it to go. Picked up loose by Tony Childry, and we're going to get an Ed Pask foul. Check the other members of that 5 for the Detroit team. Number 4, Anthony Williams, out there with Davis, Canty, Driver, and the aforementioned, well, the man that's at the free throw line, Tony Childry. Was a 1-and-1, he missed, picks up his own rebound, goes up and can't get it to go. Marcel Driver was the one with the rebound, not Canty. And it's going to be Kennedy's foul. Correction, not Kennedy's foul, but rather number 50, Kevin Hall. And so now Marty Stevens, Marty Stevens will check back into the basketball game. The man from Royal Oak Shrine, 6'5" forward guard. And back to the free throw line, Marcel Driver, he hits the first. Driver with 6. Got them both. 7 points for Marcel Driver. And it's now a 1-point lead. Tried to get the ball at Paskett center court, and it was picked off. How about that move? Not successful, but jam it at home is Marcel Driver. Driver has 9 points now, and for the first time in the basketball game, and they pressure the inbounds. Charlie Wingate tried to get it into Ed Paskett and it hit the baseline. And now Norman Williams and Lyman DePriest, the Polar Bear connection, coming back in the game, replacing, well, we'll see who they're going to replace, Sean Phillips and Charlie Wingate. The first lead of this basketball game for the All-Star team from Detroit. Ball almost knocked away, but picked up by Paris Canny. He walked with it and will get called for it. 11:17 to go in the first half. 20-19, the Detroit All-Stars, who trail by as many as 10 points in the early stages of this game. As it tipped away, Ed Pass tries to run it down. It was picked up on the sideline and dropped on the sideline by Marcel Driver. So they're going to have to play a little bit more in control. This is a group that includes Ed Pask and Norman Williams, Lyman DePriest, Marty Stevens, Long Gunn, and Mark Smith of the Blue Jays of Southfield. There was a walk that could have been called. Kenny brings it down and gives it off on the left-hand side to Johnny Taylor. Taylor from Pershing throws one up from the top of the key, no good. Nice rebound by Lyman DePriest. I'm sure he's the one they're going to look to try and get back in control of this game. Williams, a reach-in foul that time by Taylor, and Taylor will pick up his first foul. They've been over the limit for so long, both teams. But we don't know what the limit is. They're going to call a 1-and-1. In high school ball, you get 4 fouls per half, and on the 5th foul, you're going to shoot for the remainder of the half. In college ball, as you well know, you shoot on the 7th foul. Shoot on the 8th foul. Norman Williams at the free throw line has 5 points now with that hoop, with that free throw, I should say. 10:43 to go. And it's all tied up at 20, and Williams bricks the second one. Tried to feed it underneath. The ball was blocked by Mark Smith. It goes out of bounds. Well, Mark Smith got up high for that one and got a piece of his arm on it anyway. It's about at the midway point of the first half. Haven't brought Stevie Wise back in, and another errant inbounds. Harris County has the basketball. Taylor on the baseline. Can't get that one to go. Mark Smith fights for it, gets it, and they tried to steal it from him, but fouled him in the process. I believe it's going to be Taylor, and if it is, it's going to be his second foul. And that indeed will be the case in Mark Smith. About a 65% free throw shooter during the 1986-87 season for Greg Slifka's Blue Jays. Will go to the line. Mark said he's looking at playing his college basketball at Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland. Fine young man. Misses the free throw. Dad is the Dean of Education at Wayne State University. Well, John Taylor, after 2 straight fouls, comes up with his first basket of the game. Williams throws it up wild and follows his own shot. Marcus Belton is getting ready to come back in the contest. It's all tied up at 22, inside of 10 minutes to play in the first half. Coaches have a tough job. Taylor misses. Smitty gets the rebound. Mark, one of the few, one of the many players, does not get a lot of recognition. Shot missed by Marty Stevens and picked off on the baseline. Good steal by Williams. Norman Williams, that is, and can he fix it up? Childry, that is, Tony Childry. Ball stripped away. And Lyman DePriest picks it up. Tries to get the pass out. They're having a lot of trouble starting their plays. Finishing them is not a problem, but starting them has been a major, major drawback of both of these teams in this contest. A couple of substitutions now into the contest is Anthony Williams, number 4, and also number 31, Derek Vineyard, returns. At pass, double team, through pressure, looked like he walked, but they called the second travel, then on Marcus Belton. Ted Gwynn is letting the official know exactly the reason that Marcus Belton was traveling, because he was putting up a shot. Williams and Pask out there now with Marty Stevens, Lyman DePriest, and Marcus Belton. Everybody going up for the rebound, but nobody being able to hang on to it. 8:59 to go in the first half. It's all tied up at 22. Childry misses on the baseline. Lyman DePriest, good hard rebound. And we're going to get a foul on the man with the bandaged right hand, and that is Anthony Williams from Cody High School. One of the things I think that is happening is that the other players, the players on the opposition team, or rather the players on the team that has possession of the basketball, are not coming back to help out whoever it happens to be to bring the ball up. And in the case of the Detroit team, defensively, they are attacking. DePriest misses the free throw. I was going to say that they are attacking the guards. They're double teaming the guards. A couple of missed shots. Roderick Davis puts the shot up, and he can't get it to go. That was Anthony Williams on the miss. So we'll have another Suburban Detroit foul, Suburban foul, that is. And then it's going to be Norman Williams' second. Anthony Williams will go to the free throw line. 11.5 assists per game average. Average 12.5 points a game, and is looking at Southern Arkansas University as his collegiate choice. Ball kept alive by Marcus Belton, and stepping in front of him and knocking it out of bounds. One of the Detroit players, and it's going to be Suburban basketball. It's Anthony Williams. We should recognize him now. And another bad inbounds that time as Marty Stevens dropped the ball on the sideline as he tried to get it into Ed Pask. Davis, no. A little over the back action, but fouled in anyway by Derek Vineyard. So it's 25-22. Ever since that 15-5 run, it has been a 20-7 run by the Detroit All-Stars that have given them that 3-point lead. Let us go into the Suburban huddle and see what Ted Gwynn has to say.
Or nothing. Let's get some rebounds, baby, or somebody got to get in there that's going to get some. Let's get it together, brother. Come on now. All it is a box out and a jump. All right? Let's go, man. Let's go then with the boys. Let's go. Let's go. 4 people help out.
Yes, this is as good a time as any to thank everybody that is that was a part of our Winter Sports 87 coverage that came to a very crunching conclusion. It was quite a final game, but we didn't really know it was a final game. And everyone who has been very supportive of us, all the athletic directors and the coaches, we thank them. And we'll do. And there's a steal on the inbounds again. We're going to get an offensive foul call that time on Tony Childry, as he used the body to clear out one of the Suburban All-Stars. 25-22. 8 minutes, 9 seconds to go. And according to the scoreboard, that is the 3rd foul on Childry. On the baseline pass, the left-hander, no, but that was because he was fouled by Anthony Williams. Watch pass, he has good range. We're watching him during warm-ups, and very consistent. has the first one, a 68% foul shooter. He's 6'1", 179 pounds. That's why this line about him being the second leading rebounder all time for Hazel Park is amazing. Misses that one, but Belton found it. That ball was slapped off the glass, and they're screaming for goaltending. Nice follow by Derek Vineyard. 27-23. Now another substitution or 5. Again, we'll check him as they turn around. Belton will sit down, and Pasquet, as they're calling him on the PA, will sit down. Into the lineup. We'll give it to you in a second. Quite a reverse play up that attempt by Kennedy. DePriest has the shot goaltended. Lyman DePriest has 7 points. So it's now a 27-25 basketball game with 7:28 to go in the first half of play. Long gun from the top of the key by Stevie Wise, who hasn't been in for a while. Great pass to Kennedy. He can't get it to go, or rather to Hall. He could not get it to go. That was Roderick Davis to Marcel Driver. In this case, Marcel Dunker that time. 29-25. 7 minutes to go in the first half. As we mentioned, we hope to be joined by Perry Watson in the second half. Lyman DePriest with a southpaw two-pointer. 29-27. Not too much good outside shooting. Norman Williams now, one-on-one against Vineyard, drops it behind him. Stevens gets it back to Norman Williams, and he gets it to go. Quickly up the court, Anthony Williams drives, foul, it'll count if it goes, and it is going to count. Many horns, many substitutions. Back into the basketball game, John Taylor for Stevie Wise. And at the free throw line will be Anthony Williams trying to complete the three-point play and put the Detroiters back up by 3. He cannot get it to go. They keep it alive. Hall gets the rebound. 2 players tied it up. Neither of their feet moved, so I don't understand why they would have called that a travel. Mark Smith comes in to replace somebody's got to go out. It's going to be Hall. Weren't really sure who it was that was going out, so the official stops the play. Detroit basketball underneath their own offensive boards. They get it inside to Driver, puts it off the glass and scores, and Derek Vineyard, that is. So another 3-point opportunity. It makes it the score now 33-29. And the foul will go on Mark Smith. And now Aaron Johnson from Seaholm is back in the game, and Marty Stevens will sit down. At the free throw line will be Derek Vineyard. DePriest gets the board. It's a 4-point lead, the biggest of the contest for the Detroit All-Stars. DePriest travels. Lyman's telling the official they let me do that the whole season in the Suburban Athletic Conference. Not tonight. Roderick Davis tried to penetrate, and we're going to get a foul, a Suburban foul one more time. And Roderick Davis will go back to the line. The foul was on number 12, and that's Kennedy, and that is his second. At the line, Roderick Davis. Can't get that one to go. Lyman DePriest with the rebound, up to Norman Williams, and again, they pressure the guards in the backcourt. Cross court to Kennedy. Baseline, tries to reverse off the glass. No, Mark Smith follows, fills it, and he's fouled. Good job by Smitty underneath. Seeing the basket and really not too many green shirts around him. Smith will go to the line. Johnny Taylor will sit down, and back into the contest is Tony Childry. Smitty cannot complete the three-point play. Vineyard runs it down and gets it to Roderick Davis. 5:50 to go. Oh, Davis can't get it. Ball is kept alive by the Detroiters. Picked up there by Driver. He fires from the wing. 35-31 with 5:35 to go in the first. Williams off the glass. Looks like it was touched. Smitty follows and fills it again. Well, I'll tell you, they need that kind of stuff underneath.
Oh!
Ball is loose. You can hear the microphone under the basket, and we're going to get a DePriest foul as he tried to reach in on Paris Canny and get him as he went up, and he did. That will be the second on Lyman DePriest. Into the free throw line goes Canny. The one officially has 5 points. After the first free throw attempt, we will watch Lyman DePriest try to steal the basketball away. A lot of those fouls are coming inside the paint, and it was on the follow again, those second shots that they're letting him have. Gets that one to go, and it's back to a 4-point lead for the green-clad Detroit All-Stars. Norman Williams of Highland Park gives it to Don Kennedy of Ferndale, and a nice baseline move by Don makes it 37-35. Davis on the drive. He can't get it. DePriest loses it, but Williams picks it up. 3-on-1. He's going to give it to DePriest. Back to Norman. He walked with the ball. No call. Followed by Williams, or rather by Johnson. No good. Save into Williams. Tried to force the pass to Smitty. Steals it back and throws it away. Davis on the baseline throws it up off the iron, and finally they get it to go. 4 chances down at the other end for the Suburban All-Stars. Sean Phillips getting ready to check back in. It's again a 4-point lead. DePriest from 15. Williams runs it down, or rather Kennedy runs it down, and the Detroit player, Kennedy, who picked it up on the baseline, had his foot on the baseline. Smith with a good power rebound. And again, they've got to get people to come to the ball after the rebound. Williams tried to dish it back to Kennedy from where it came. And Norman Williams got popped either by Vineyard or by Paris Canty. We're going to see Tony Childry come back into the basketball game. Norman Williams will be at the free throw line. 4 minutes and 3 seconds to go in the game, the first half, I should say, of this game. It's been a tightly played game. Both teams rather tight. Couldn't get that one. Marcel Driver with a rebound. Inside of 4 minutes. The missed shot tipped ahead. Don Kennedy fires. It'll count if it. No, tipped in by Aaron Johnson. I thought we were going to get a foul, but we're going to give that one to Aaron Johnson. I believe it was Aaron. Roderick Davis from the free throw line. And again, substitution time on the baseline. Good. Kennedy tried to go inside to Johnson. Threw it right into Childry's hands and down to Davis again. DePriest taps it, and it's tipped up. No. Canty follows. He can't get it to go. Childry was the man that missed it. Lyman DePriest. That was a goaltend. That's the second goaltend of the contest. Lyman DePriest, the beneficiary of that one. It's 41-37. And I think we're going to get ourselves a timeout here with 3:11 to go in the first half. It's 41. We should point out also that it is 41-39, a 2-point Detroit All-Star lead. Well, whether it interests you what's on some of the premium channels or some of the channels that you pick up on your basic service, Cable Highlights is the show that you're going to want to tune to. Tuesday and Thursday at 7 o'clock, and Saturday at 5:30. Also some insights and some information as to what's going on as far as the world of Continental is concerned, and some of the people that make up that organization. Checking into the contest, back into the contest after having his right wrist wrapped, is number 44, Ed Patterson. We hadn't seen too much of him, and that was because he was back into the locker room area. I don't know what he has in his hand or what the situation is with Patterson. He has something in his hand right now, and I don't know what it is unless it's an ice pack. Right now, though, 3:11 to go in the first half, 41-39. We will give you the official scoring at halftime. I have almost given up on keeping it. But we'll change that. We get a travel call now and a big break now. Big break and an opportunity for the Suburban All-Stars. Kennedy, Aaron Johnson, Sean Phillips with the basketball, and he'll fire a little short jumper, no good. Picked off underneath by Tony Children. Now the return pass. Let's watch Lyman DePriest. Yes! Oh, a cup dunk, if you will. The ball between the hand and the wrist, and he jammed it home and tied the score. We should have an offensive foul, but they're going to call it on Johnson. Johnson looks up and asks for the foul to go the other way. It does not, and that'll be his second. Watch the left hand of Lyman DePriest. Well, he did it one or two times against Oak Park in the game we had. But to be doing that on a consistent basis, that and just about everything else that he was called on to do while he's been All-State and All-Conference as a junior and a senior. Splits the free throws, and Phillips knocked the ball. It looked from here off a driver, but they're going to give it to Detroit. A one-pointer right now with 2:32 to go. Ball underneath, stolen by Mark Smith. Smith has been very active defensively and also from a rebounding standpoint since he has entered the basketball game at the various stages at which he has entered the basketball game. 2:27 to go, and Smitty will go back to the free throw line. Mark has 8 points unofficially. They become official in about 2 minutes and 27 seconds. Now we're going to get a substitution as Charlie Wingate will come back into the game. And Don Kennedy, who did a very nice job while he was in there. Smitty misses. 42-41, Detroit in the lead and on the attack. Shot was partially blocked. Detroit players keep the ball alive, and Sean Phillips has it to Charlie Wingate. Charlie Wingate to Mark Smith. Smith fades with the right hand and gets it. You watch Charlie Wingate, he makes things happen. There's a drive. Johnson got his hand right in the face of Paris Kenny, but Kenny would have nothing of it. 44-43, a minute 50 to go in the first half of play. Wingate, baseline, Phillips, fades, fires, fills. So Detroit, the Suburban All-Stars have their first lead in a while. Air ball, rebounded, Mark Smith. They come to the basketball, something they did not do in the first half. Charlie Wingate runs down the errant pass. He'll drive. Dish off behind him to Lyman DePriest. He'll pull up and fire with the left hand, no. Ball loose underneath, but it is grabbed there by Paris Kenny. Kenny walks, no call. Ball tipped away, Charlie Wingate. Ooh, is he quick. Get a couple of substitutions. Pask or Pasquet will check into the contest for the Suburban All-Stars along with Anthony Williams. Marcus Belton will check in, and Mark Smith, who has been impressive in the few moments that he has participated, sits down. Everybody's participated in just a few moments, although we're going to see a lot of Lyman DePriest, I know, before this one is over. So too Marcel Driver and Paris Kenny. Almost stolen away by Belton. Davis picks it up, and he stepped, no, he walked. Oh, interesting call. Well, I tell you, the changes are becoming about as frequent as a National Hockey League game, except they're not jumping over the boards. And Sean Phillips leaves the game and asks why. Charlie Wingate at home on this floor as he has been the last couple, 3 years. Tries to shake and bake. Shot that time was missed by Stevens. 1-point basketball game. The Suburban All-Stars lead with 41 seconds to go. And Marty Stevens, very frustrated young man. You can see that each time he does something that is of a negative variety, that he just really cringes and doesn't want himself to be the center of attention for mistakes. Good crowd here tonight, too. Shot is missed. DePriest comes down with it. Sends everybody down the floor. He'll go one-on-one with it against Childry. Loses it in the backcourt. They have 10 seconds to get it over, and he has taken an awful long time. The official, well, they say he hadn't interrupted his dribble. Here's John Taylor off in the middle, and Childry almost hurt himself as he tried to jam the pass from Johnny Taylor. And the foul is going to go on Norman Williams, who I didn't even see come into the basketball game. It was on, not on Williams, but on Ed Pasquet. Ed tried to slap the basketball away from him from behind. Now DePriest will sit down, and Sean Phillips will come back in the last 21 seconds of the game's first half. Childry at the line. Missed them both. Marty Stevens with a rebound, 19 seconds to go. Here's Wingate making it happen. What a pass. Pasquet, Glasser, no. Ball is loose. Goes ahead now to Childry. Will he try to jam? He will finger roll it in. 46-45. Pasquet, 5-4, 3 seconds. Pulls up, fouled with 1 second to go, and he'll go to the free throw line. Dead silence as they announce about refreshments being available in the hallway. Popcorn, of course, for Alan Blau. Pretty well played basketball game for a high school all-star game where the kids are thinking proms and a lot of other things. Ed's first free throw. Thank you. We had an opportunity, if I'm not mistaken, to see Southfield and Hazel Park in a game that was done by our system in Hazel Park. This young man has stood out. I don't want to say the big fish in the small pond, but Hazel Park's success knocked away by Sean Phillips, so there will be a final shot will not be taken by either team. And so after one half of play from Oak Park High School, our score, the Suburban All-Stars 47, the Detroit All-Stars 46. We'll be back to tell you who did all the scoring for both these teams in just a minute.
Families are moving closer and closer to our forests. That's why, if you're careless with fire when you go to the forest, you could burn a lot more than trees.
Jim Shafran back with you at Oak Park High School. Second half of action. It's a one-point basketball game. And joining me for the color commentary in the second half is a gentleman who is out looking at one of these young men, and he's been impressive. And we're talking about Dan McGovern, who is the head basketball coach at Barton County Community College. And I know you're the young man that you're out looking at and for and just about ready to sign has looked pretty good.
I think Marcel's played real well. It's always tough, Jim, in all-star games to do well. I think players like Marcel that come from structured teams don't perform as well. It's an individual type atmosphere, and it is conducive for one-on-ones type styles. But I've been real pleased with how hard Marcel's played, and I think he's looked awfully good.
Have you seen him before tonight?
Yes, I have.
As a senior, or as an underclassman?
Well, both. And he's awfully impressive. But there's a lot of talent out here, though. I tell you, I've been awfully impressed, especially I think the key of the first half, though, has been this Norman Williams, the point guard for the Suburban players. I thought he's really done a good job getting the team going.
Marty Stevens misses. Lyman DePriest, Williams' teammate on Highland Park, taps the ball out of bounds. Give you some quick scoring. The Lyman had 15 points. Norman Williams had 9, so that's 24-47 belonging to Highland Park, Michigan. Kennedy and Johnson, oh, deja vu, had 4 points apiece. 4 for Sean Phillips, 6 for Mark Smith. Marcus Belton had 2, 9, as we mentioned, for Williams. Ed Pasquet had 3. We did a little bit of check-in at halftime and have a couple corrections to make. We'll talk about it in a minute. Marty Stevens, who needs to get offensively active. We're going to get an offensive, or rather a alternate possession call, and it's going to go the Detroit way. The Detroiters led by the man that Dan McGovern came to see, Marcel Driver, 13 points, 7 apiece for Paris Canty and Tony Childry, 6 for Derek Vineyard, 6 for Roderick Davis, who is wearing 4. 00 is Anthony Williams. We have been corrected.
That's one of the few outside shots that we've seen here, Jim. I tell you, without the three-point shot, most of the guys are trying to take it right to the glass.
Belton looked like he might have been fouled. That was Stevie Wise on the last Detroit basket. Here's Marcel.
Really gifted athlete, Jim. Boy, he can do a lot of things. This guy here, Norman Williams, can play. Well, good defense.
Here comes the prospector. Look out. Tony Childry jams it home. The young man who played his high school basketball, I should say, at Southeastern. And now we're going to get a quick timeout. 52-47, 18:41 to go in the second half. I'm a little bit confused right now because of the fact high school games, we've been used to doing them. We have had situations where they've been playing 8-minute quarters. Now they're playing 20-minute halves. Probably something that you would enjoy seeing a little bit more as a coach, because that's what they're going to have to be doing starting in the fall. Well, I guess everybody will, even all the way down to junior high now, Jim, with the National Federation passing the three-point shot, the 19-9. It's going to have a big impact. So that's really the only rule that these young men won't be using next year, is the three-point shot. That'll be very interesting. It really will. Here. See what happens here. 52-47. Let's set him up for you. Lyman DePriest, who is going to take charge in this game if he hasn't already. And the officials a bit of a conference as to what the foul is going to be. And Lyman DePriest will go to the free throw line. No offensive foul call. The foul is going to go on Tony Childry, and that'll be his second. Make it his. Well, I have him for 3. And now Kevin Curry is going over to the scorer's table, and that indeed is going to be the 4th foul. Now let's see what they're going to call here. They got 23 on the board with his 4th foul. I think it's 20 with his 4th foul, and 23 will go to the line. All those young players out there listening, Jim, you can't draw a charge unless you square up. If you turn sideways, the officials aren't going to call it. Norman Williams dishes it off to Lyman DePriest, and the Polar Bear connection almost clicks again. And very quickly into the basketball game is Roderick Davis, and I'm sure that with his 4th foul, that Tony Childry will sit down, and that is the case. We had Davis and Williams' numbers switched. They've been changing numbers, I don't know why, but Davis is 4 and Williams is 00. Williams with 2 points, Roderick Davis with 6. And the free throw barrage has really not helped either team, because neither team has been very successful. And right now, Hiram Harris, the assistant over there to Tony Gwynn, is not Tony Gwynn, but Ted Gwynn, is calling a timeout or asking for a technical foul to be called, one or the other. I don't think we're going to see a technical foul tonight. No, I don't either, Jim. But again, it's such a. I see what the situation is. According to the scoreboard, that was the 5th foul. I see. On Children. So apparently he has fouled out. We are approximately 2 months removed from the high school basketball season having ended, and I think that there's still a little bit of dust on the
Well, when you get away from the structured environment like these young men have been for a little bit, let's watch this. That's a strong move. You have a tendency to get back to the individual nature, and that doesn't lend itself to much perimeter shooting. That's one of the rare we've seen so far.
Norman Williams, as DePriest tries to keep it alive, they're blowing this game away. Roderick Davis is fouled as Williams came back quickly, and that's going to be the 4th foul on Norman Williams. And Roderick Davis will go to the free throw line with 6 points. Watch this one again. And again, just good quickness and good hustle by Norman Williams, but it cost him his 4th foul. Davis at the foul line, as we mentioned, with 6 points. Now that we figured out who he was. Oh, had that been an air ball, they would have stopped the play. DePriest, they're trapping in that backcourt, and they've done that the entire game. Stevens off the legs of Belton. Marty Stevens picks it up, fires a baseline jumper. No, Belton open underneath. He blows the bunny. Derek Vineyard now.
Well, I've really been impressed with Derek Vineyard, Jim. He gets involved with so many things, and here's a big kid bringing the ball up down the court and handling it under composure. I'm really impressed with him. I think he's played very well so far.
Marty Stevens going to pick up his 3rd foul, and now Aaron Johnson from Seaholm will come into the basketball game along with Mark Smith. Smitty played real well. You know, we have seen him during the basketball season, not really a scorer, but a lot more points inside than we've seen him. We saw him 2-3 times during this past season. Marcus Belton fires a pass ahead to Norman Williams. Look at that spin move.
Oh, boy.
Well, an A for effort, but an E for execution. On the baseline, Derek Vineyard throws it up over Belton and jammed back through by you-know-who. At least Dan knows who. Now we're all going to know who. Lyman DePriest, finally, the first field goal of the second half for the Suburban All-Stars. 17 for Lyman.
Lyman couldn't miss those in pregame warm-ups, Jim. He was just unstoppable.
He signed early with the University of Connecticut, and one of the better things about that is that we're going to get a chance to see an awful lot of the Big East, and UConn will be very well, actually the state of Michigan, very well represented in the Big East, with Derek Coleman having just a great season as a freshman with Syracuse, and there are probably a couple of others. Of course, young man who plays at Pittsburgh, played in the public school there.
Lyman's just such a great athlete. He's going to really help University of Connecticut program.
Driver's already up to 21 points. 4-point basketball game, and DePriest is going to try and get him back in. I don't want to say all by himself, but he's going to be a big part of it. On the baseline, they're going to wipe it out. They're going to say that Derek Vineyard cleared out with the right arm. Good call by the official.
It was a good call, Jim.
16 minutes to go. The clock is still running. As we mentioned, there are bugs that need to be ironed out. And now the clock stops. They must have read my lips. They haven't played too many games in this gym. They replaced the floor during the season. Derek Vineyard.
Well, the players are a little bit rusty. Jim, and the scorekeeper, I think, is too. He's been off duty for a couple of months himself.
But the game on the floor, very competitive. Here's DePriest from the foul line, and Lyman DePriest.
Shot that with his right hand, Jim. Very versatile player.
Oh, and Darryl Percival is going to miss him, but he has come up with some great stars at Highland Park. Here's Lyman. He's through. He scores. He's fouled. We had Lyman DePriest against Oak Park February the 24th, and what a basketball game it was. And boy, they had really a huge scare that time. Now we're going to check the foul. One of the Detroit players is saying that there was a travel. But
what was the scare that you were talking about, Jim?
Well,
in the game,
I should say, I'm talking about the actual competitiveness of the game. Oak Park came in very poor record. Highland Park came in earlier in the season ranked in the state, and Oak Park just made a tremendous comeback. I called it a courageous comeback, led by Marcus Belton, who was wearing 32 tonight, and Charlie Wingate wearing 15. They got it all the way down to the last shot of the game, and Jeff Glotta from Highland Park buried one from the right baseline about 20 feet away as the horn went off. And what we thought was a very overmatched Oak Park team came out almost on the long end of very, very low scores. So, but Lyman DePriest, you know, he's the kind of guy that when things were going wrong, he's a leader.
You can see he's looking to take over here also. You know, he's looking to bring this team back and take charge here.
A lot of great gentlemen coming out of Highland Park. Talk about Terry Durant of the University of Detroit. You talk about a couple of guys in West Virginia, and J.J. Kroll and Renardo Brown, and there have been so many out of Highland Park. And those gentlemen that I mentioned, Percy Cooper, who played college basketball, some of it anyway, at Eastern Michigan University, and there are just so many. But Darryl Percival, a gentleman who I don't know if you've had the opportunity to meet or not, but just an absolutely delightful man to be around. And you know that anybody that comes out of his program, and I know you know coaches like Darryl around the country,
you bet.
You can just say, well, if this guy's playing for this coach, then he's got about 3 steps ahead of half the other kids I've been looking at.
There's a lot to be said for that too.
Lyman DePriest will go to the free throw line and try to complete the 3-point play. It is a 60-56 basketball game. It was a 1-point Suburban lead at the half. And that was hard fought to get it back. Now they're going to call a lane violation. He misses the free throw, and the lane violation is going to go on one of the Suburban All-Stars, who we will name individually. Number 44 is Mark Smith out of Southfield High School. Number 1, Norman Williams. Roderick Davis, relentless.
Good effort.
8 for Davis. Don Kennedy, number 12 out of Ferndale. And then the 2 Highland Parkers, number 23, Lyman DePriest, number 1, Norman Williams. Great pass from Kennedy to Williams. Look at that. Almost tipped up by Hall. So we have 2 Ferndales, 2 Highland Parks in the Southfield out there for you, if you're keeping track of those type of things. Coaches do, I'm sure, because they know that you want to get some guys that have played together. That shot was partially blocked by Hall, and we're going to get a foul either on DePriest or on Mark Smith.
Well, the Detroit players here are just taking control of the offensive boards here. Suburban players aren't blocking out, and each possession coming down, Jim, the Detroit players are getting, oh, there's that replay.
You know, it's those second shots, Dan. It's an incredible situation. We noticed it in the first half, and between that and the fact that they were not handling the trap on the inbounds passes very well, the Detroit All-Stars are getting a lot of confidence, although we still have now an 8-point ball game, which is the biggest lead of the game for either team.
I thought Detroit players were most effective, Jim, in the first half with that press they threw on. They didn't stay with it very long, but caused a lot of quick turnovers with the Suburban players.
Now big people taking outside shots, and in a close ball game, you don't like to see that. We'll get a travel call and an opportunity now for the Suburban All-Stars to turn it around and come back. I know you're going to go home with Marcel Driver. Is this one of those things where you hope to add another name or two, or are you pretty well set on who you're after?
Well, you never know, Jim. We're just going to need to keep doing a good job and see what happens. But he's a fine young man and obviously a great player. But there's a lot of great players in this city.
And you're going to go home with one of them.
I hope so. Boy,
there he is again.
Kid. Jim, I assume that there must be a rule in this game against zone defenses.
I didn't hear about that. I did not hear about it, but I'm sure that in a situation like this, that's a goaltend. Harris Caddy will score that basket. crank his total up to 9. I would think that in a game like this, though, that it would be a lot easier to play man-to-man, especially since they've only had one practice session, or would the opposite be true?
Right. Well, lots of times in all-star games, they do make a rule that, hey, let's not. Good finger roll. Those finger rolls will give coaches gray hairs. Lots of times, though, Jim, they make rules in all-star games to disallow zones and encourage man-to-man defense. But with the lack of perimeter shooting so far in the game, I would think that would be pretty effective on either side, really.
Right.
Here comes the press.
It's now an 11-point Detroit lead. Lyman DePriest with the left-hander, and that shot was way off the mark. He might have been fouled. He ran down and grabbed Canny, who probably fouled him. DePriest, no goaltend there, and he tried to lead the fast break. The ball went out of bounds, slowing down the break.
I think the officials may have missed that one. I think our replay would show that Lyman got it off the glass after it hit the glass.
I missed a couple of them.
Well, I guess it was a little rusty there, Jim.
Add the Pasquet into the basketball game, number 11, with, of course, numerous apologies for calling him anything but Ed Pasquet. And this is a young man who, you know, you go through and you read the little box scores, or not the box scores, but the summaries of a lot of the games, and especially when they're in a league in which a lot of the players that you're following, a lot of the teams that you're following, and Ed's name was always up there. Not really the greatest team in the world, but Ed was a standout ball player. That last basket, I believe, was by Kenny. There's a steal. Stevie Wise.
Good decision. That was a good decision on that break.
And now Charlie Wingate will come back into the basketball game. Don Kennedy will sit down, and Johnny Taylor, number 12 in the green shirt, will come in, and he will replace Anthony Williams. So we'll try and set him up for you now as Derek Vineyard will go to the free throw line. One of the prides and joy, I guess, would be the proper pluralization of that, of Perry Watson at Southwestern along with Stevie Wise. Anderson Hunt, they had wanted to come to this basketball game, but there is a rule stating how many of these all-star games these kids can play in. There's another throwaway. Kenny, great pass underneath. They're not calling anything. Marcel Driver got smashed that time, and the officials are either letting things go or assuming somebody else is going to call it. Paris Kenny. And as you mentioned, Dan, the perimeter shooting has been lacking tremendously so far. Another knockaway. This game could turn into a blowout real quick. Stevie Wise almost had it stripped by Pasquet. Turns around and shoots it over Ed. No, picked off in the middle by Marty Stevens, and he goes to Charlie Wingate. That was not Marty Stevens, but it was Hall. Long gun by Charlie, no good. Followed up by Sean Phillips, no. Hall tears the ball away, and they call those when they're right on the basket, but when they're at any angle, they don't call them.
Well, Jim, I think we've all seen a drastic change in the style of officiating in this game. I think the first half, early in the game, things were being called pretty closely. Now the officials are letting them play just a little bit more.
It's a 15-point lead, 75-60. They've already put up 29 points in the first 8 minutes of this half. And also, it's been basically a 29-13 run that has seen a 1-point Suburban lead turn into a 15-point Detroit lead.
Now the overall pace of the game is really quickened.
That is the PSL style. Paris Kenny.
Paris Kenny, that's a good-looking shot from him.
Pasquet, double team. They break the press nicely. Sean Phillips, nice move. Sean, one of the few players on either team that was not a starter on his ball club. Mark Schiller, the starting center for the Southfield Lathrop Chargers, was supposed to be here. We get an offensive foul. Nice charge taken by Pasquet. Mark Schiller is taking those boards. I don't even know the name of them because I know, SATs were tough enough for me, but advanced placement, I believe, examinations. He's going to be going to Yale and looks to be a walk-on the basketball team. Schiller was supposed to have played. 6'5" center out of Southfield Lathrop. But Sean Phillips has taken his place. He's got the ball again, and he'll fire from the outside.
Nice pass from
Roderick
Cantor.
Davis is fouled as he went up. Charlie Wingate will get the call, I believe. You pointed at Ed Pasquay's name, and I want to tell you, I got it in my notes here. This kid has done more for Hazel Park basketball as we watch the replay, and once again, they're getting the running game going, and so you get the running game going with the outside shooting, and the opposition is in a bit of trouble.
Well, Johnny Ghostin does such a great job, Jim, with the players at Pershing, and his players, of course, it certainly hurt the Detroit players when Ed went down with that injury in the first half, but boy, they're all so well disciplined and so sound fundamentally, the boys from Pershing.
Anthony Williams, or rather Roderick Davis from Cody, splitting the pair. Good pass underneath from Pasquay to Belton. Marcus Belton scores his second basket of the basketball game, and it's 78-64. In-loaded driver. He hung on the rim, will get a technical foul. The officials warned him about it before the start of the game, so we will get a technical foul. Now that we've talked about Ed Pasquay, number 11 in the red shirt, the numbers are fantastic. 43% field goal shooter, 68% from the line, 20 points, almost 11 rebounds a game, the second most rebounds in school history. Terry Thomas, who was about 6'6" and about 220 pounds, played back when I was going to high school. And Ed's only 6'1", 179. And he does have an outstanding grade point average of 3.57.
Oh, just from watching him play, you can tell he's got a big heart, you know, and he seems like a tough competitor.
That would have counted had it gone. And that was the man who started at center for Ferndale High School, Kevin Hall. Ferndale High School just around the corner, and a lot of the Ferndale kids live in Oak Park, and we say hello to all of them watching on CTV 11. Now Stevie Wise, who's not really seen a whole lot of playing time, will come out of the ball game, and Derek Vineyard, who unofficially has 8 points in the contest, and Kevin Hall at the free throw line. It is now a 12-point game. We're not even at the halfway point of the half, the second half, but you can tell by the way that the Suburban All-Stars, or rather the Detroiters, are playing, that nobody's going to get a run on them.
Well, I would think that I thought fatigue would play in a factor, Jim, with the Detroit players, since they were a little bit outmanned number-wise, but they seem to be holding up pretty good. I thought late in the game the Suburban players would have an advantage, and we'll see. Of course, we still got 10.5 left, and these Detroit kids, they're not getting as much rest as the Suburban players, so we'll see if that becomes a factor.
Pasquay turns around, fires, and can't get it. Put out of there by Vineyard. Here comes Roderick Davis all the way down. Oh, that's offensive goaltending. Good call by the trail official. You could see that happening. The ball was in the basket, and somebody went up over the top and took it, tried to get their own 2 points out of it. But
well, Derek Vineyard had good intentions following that up, but it would have been more wise to leave his hand off the rim. Good call by the officials, Jim.
Norman Williams and Lyman DePriest coming in as a pair. Sitting down, Charlie Wingate and Sean Phillips for the Suburban All-Stars. Tony Hollifield stand out here at Oak Park and also at Illinois State University. Was supposed to be Kevin Curry's assistant on the Detroit side, but he had probably had some other commitments. Lyman DePriest, the left-hand baseliner, no. Here we go again, a fast break. Hall does a good job of filling the lane and bumping down the man who had intentions of 2 points. And according, that should be the 5th foul on Hall. Phillips will come in, and Kevin Hall will sit down. And he fouls out, Hall does, with just 2 points. And at the free throw line will be Anthony Williams, and he has 2. Too bad that the Cooley Cardinals were not represented on this Detroit team. The Class State A champion who did a great job. Ben Kelso, the former Central Michigan Chippewa and Piston, also who coached for some time at Henry Ford High School, did a great job in getting his kids ready after they had lost, I believe, twice and maybe 3 times to Southwestern. Managed to knock them off in the Class A finals. The only loss, as Norman Williams is fouled as he goes up, the only blemish on what would have been a perfect season for Perry Watson and crew. The foul was called on Anthony Williams. That'll be his 3rd. Norman Williams will go to the free throw line with 9 points unofficially. Kevin Curry's checking at the table, seeing what's happening. I don't know what Norman's intentions are as far as school is concerned. Highland Park has a very good community college and a good community college basketball team.
They really do.
In fact, Glenn Donahue, the former coach there, is now one of the assistants to Don Seco at the University of Detroit. And it's very possible Norman may end up there.
Well, I tell you, whoever does get Norman, though, is going to get an outstanding point guard. Really has a good head on his shoulders, makes good decisions, and handles the ball, runs the club. He's a good one.
That should be over and back, because I don't think Pass dives after the basketball, knowing that they might have let up, knowing it was going to go out of bounds. That would have counted had it gone. A little bit, young man is a little bit upset. Paris Caddy I'm talking about. Norman Williams picks up the foul, and that may be 4 on Williams. That is 4 on Norman Williams. 8 points per game, 5 steals Norman averages. And he's also a B student, straight B student. And that also reflects very well on the gentleman about whom we talked a little while ago, Darrell Percival.
Reflects pretty well on the player too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Putting things into perspective.
Amen.
Williams gets it to the Priest in a good defensive play, although Lyman was a little bit off balance, which made the defensive play a little bit better, which made the defensive play not as good as it may have been. Had Pask, interesting shot there, almost went down. Pasque. Could have been a walk. Nice reverse that time by Derek Vineyard.
Well, one thing that these young men are not going to do very often in all-star games is draw a charge, and you know, it's a tough decision in the game, and I know in the high school situation, the high school coach Jim will be certainly encouraging that more, but we're seeing a lot of penetration to the basket on 3-on-1, 3-on-2 type situations, when normally I feel in a college or a high school setting, the players on the defense would be drawing a charge.
Marcus Belton driving to the basket, and he was fouled. Belton's an interesting story too, Dan. He came from Memphis, Tennessee, came up just to Oak Park, and obviously you cannot play when you transfer until the beginning of the next semester, if I'm not mistaken. I'm far removed from high school, although we spent a lot of time here. And Marcus, that might have hurt him as far as getting into a college situation. Although I know in situations like yours and other community college head coaches like to be able to get a player like Marcus with a lot of raw talent and maybe work him into a Division I situation.
Well, Marcus comes from a great basketball hotbed, Memphis, Tennessee. Tremendous Division I talent comes out of there every year, Jim.
Johnny Taylor. It's now 87-72, 15-point lead. Here's Pasque. He loses the ball. I don't think he's played against guards as quick as the Detroit guards are. We know Stevie Wise can't get it to go. Norman Williams, I'll make my point in just a second. Those of you who've watched our high school coverage on CTV 11, Belton would have counted. Nice penetration and an equally nice pass by Norman Williams. If we get a chance to see this one again, you'll see what Dan's been talking about and what we know about Norman Williams, and that is his ability to not only shoot but to penetrate.
Which is shown right there on the replay, the pass to Marcus. But Jim, I think when the Detroit players when they start pressing the Suburban players, I think they need to get the ball in the hands of number 1, and they'll be a lot better off. that kid can break a press.
He has 4 fouls on him, too, so he missed them both. Sean Phillips with the rebound. Belton gets it out of his hands and gets it to go. Phillips never had control. Marcus Belton saw to it that somebody in a red shirt would, and so now it's back to a 13-point game with under 8 minutes to go in the second half. 20-minute halves. Belton tried to step in front of Driver that time, and Marcel might have pushed off.
Belton's been doing a good job of fronting Driver all night. I thought Marcus had his ball side arm up pretty hard, though, Jim. I didn't see a foul, though, but apparently there was.
You know, everybody was standing around, and when you get that, you kind of wonder if the official just needed to take a breather. Marcus Belton has had his trauma at the free throw line tonight. He missed 3 in a row before making that one. Park had a good scrappy basketball team this year, but they played in a league in which 3 teams were ranked in the state at one time or another. So
well, that's tough.
Inkster, Robichaud, and Highland Park all ranked at one time or another in either Class A or Class B, whatever their respective situation was. Here's Norman Williams. Pasque on the right. Williams will gun from the top. It's not any good. Pasque runs it down in the corner. Bump will get a foul, and Ed will go to the line.
Well, Pasque has my vote for best hustler of this game, no question, Jim. He really puts out a lot of effort.
It's up pretty good for a guy 6'1". Lyman tries to reverse off the baseline, and he's fouled by a Driver, I believe. That would be 4 fouls on Marcel. How's your team doing down there?
We had a good season. We won 21 games and got in the regional playoffs. We have a violation here. I think he went from 2 shots to 1 shot.
I can't imagine. That's the first time I've ever seen that. Because it wasn't a lane violation.
Well,
what other violations can he have?
Well, Ed Pasque was on the line. They were shooting 2. Ed backed off, so immediately you went from 2 to 1. The call on the official's part was good. He doesn't even need to shoot the ball.
Oh, I see. Trying to fake out the official. The old FOTO foul there, or violation. Marcus Belton.
Marcus is really playing well here.
Ed Pasque. No.
That's Ed's shot.
Lyman got nailed.
Jim, while we've got a little break here, I'd like to, a big part of our team success this year at Barton County was due greatly to a Detroit product from Murray Wright, Marvin Branch, a 6'10" center that most experts, Jim, rated as the #1 junior college player in the nation. He recently signed, in fact, he signed yesterday with Larry Brown at the University of Kansas. So he'll team up with Danny Manning and Larry Brown next year, and that ought to make him pretty tough.
Keep an eye on him as, of course, a lot of the folks in the Michigan area, because of Iowa State specifically, keeping, and Missouri as well, watching what's going on in the Big 8. In fact, one young man who played the last time that we covered this All-Star game, a young man by the name of Lynn Hardy, playing extremely well for the Tigers of Missouri.
He sure is.
Pasque thought the young man had a Hazel Park Viking football helmet on rather than just the red uniform that says Suburban All-Star Basketball Team. This kid's tough. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to see him this year. Some of you did on CTV 11 watching him against Southfield, and he was the team, basically. I want to remind you about one of the programs we're most proud of on CTV 11, Mostly Business, with Phil Marr, the president of the Southfield Chamber of Commerce, every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30, and we sneak in a couple more for you on Friday and Saturday. Phil talks to the people that are making the news in the business world right here on CTV 11. A lot of things coming up. CTV 11, we invite you to keep your eyes open and see what's happening. Sports-wise, we may sneak in another game or two before the high school season is over with, but for all intents and purposes, it has been an outstanding season, starting with our football coverage back in September. Some great games and some great memories, and the basketball season just, the one game at Highland Park, and then, of course, the last game we did, the Southfield Lathrop Bloomfield Hills Losser game, where Eric Stokes hit that jumper as time ran out in that contest. Just one that you just want to keep playing over and over and over again, unless you're Mike Fidio, of course, the head coach of the Losser Knights. But that was the last time Lathrop would win, and they lost against a Seaholm team that included number 14, Aaron Johnson, who's over there on the sideline right now, and Dave Van Meter, who was supposed to be playing in this game. Gary Chamberlain did a great job of coaching this year, and our thanks, our congratulations going out to everybody that was part of our coverage during the season, the athletic directors, the players, the coaches, and also our fine crew, who has gone beyond any expectations we might have had of them. They don't have expectations of themselves, so they depend on other people. 10-point ball game, so they're back in it, and they've got the basketball. Ed Pasquale, gotta get Eddie shoot the basket and get some
great pass.
And Pasquale's gonna get a foul. I was gonna say that he starts getting the gun going, and they can get right back into this game. Pasquale will pick up his third foul.
Pasquale's shots are just a little bit off. They're drawing iron, but they all seem to be a little bit off.
Well, watch it here. Good hustle to get back.
Anytime the shooter now, Jim, is being fouled with the body, it's automatically 2 shots. So there's no question about that.
Stevie Wise gets 2 down, and it's 89-77, 6:45 to go. Norman Williams has 4 fouls. Good pass, Pasquale. Foul line, no. Followed up by Sean Phillips, no. Belton goes up. He's fouled, no call. He follows again, no. Phillips keeps it alive, but it's picked up there by Anthony Williams. He runs right into Lyman DePriest. Normal high school game, that would have been a travel call. Paris Canty lays it up, and rather Derek Vineyard lays it up and in, and it's a 14-point ball game.
Boy, that got the crowd going right there, Jim.
What a nice crowd it is. Again, my thanks to all of the Detroit Pistons for putting forth a great effort and not making a 6th game, which would have been played as we speak, necessary. And boy, I tell you, we did some negotiating with Jim Curry to try and get the game changed, but it never happened. I think Jim was very confident the Pistons would come through. And we're going to get an offensive foul outside on, well, let's see who it's going to be on. Could very well be on either driver Stevie Wise.
Well, I think they're calling the foul on driver for posting up.
That is 3 on driver. 6 minutes to go in a 14-point basketball game. The clock is stopped as they go to the line. Let's set them up for you. Lyman DePriest and Norman Williams of Highland Park are out there. Oak Park's Marcus Belton at the line in the game with Sean Phillips of Southfield Lathrop and number 10, and that is Marty Stevens from Royal Oak Shrine. Check the rest of them for you right now. 00 Anthony Williams. Anthony from Cody High School. Number 4 is, we mentioned Anthony Williams. Robert Davis is out there from Cody. He joined Stevie Wise of Southwestern, number 22. Marcel Driver of Pershing, and soon to be of Barton County Community College.
Moving the ball awfully well, Jim. They're keeping the floor balanced and looking for each other.
We'll get the 5th Detroit player as soon as he turns around. DePriest misses.
Even when DePriest misses, he looks good doing that. You know, guy's got a beautiful jump shot. Just beautiful rotation. It's a good-looking shot.
Norman Williams. Sean Phillips. Phillips is probably getting more playing time in this game than he has the whole season. There's Marcel, blocked by Sean Phillips, and going up for the basketball was Roderick Davis, and he is fouled. by Norman Williams, and I think that if it is on Norman, that is it. They're going to call it on Sean Phillips, and that will be his second.
Jim, I keep waiting for this Detroit crew to start getting gassed and start getting tired here late, but boy, they just keep running, and they're surprising me. Young men are in awfully good shape.
Belton rebounds the miss. It's a 15-pointer now. They try to go to midcourt. It's picked off by Roderick Davis. And Belton just should have watched.
Now the basket should count, Jim, and he should get 2 free throws in addition to that.
Breakaway?
That's what I'm talking about right there. He should get 2 shots.
Lyman DePriest was called for the foul. Derek Vineyard will go to the free throw line. And we'll see with how many fingers the official will raise.
There's no indication. None.
5. He only gets 1. DePriest brings it down the middle. 17-point blowout right now. DePriest off the glass, no. They keep it alive. Belton, no. Floor length pass. Stevie Wise, no. Great block by Sean Phillips.
Jim, that was a beautiful block, and I tell you, this Felton has really come alive here second half. Marcus Belton, he's really doing a super job.
Watch 31 in red. We've seen him come off the bench for Bob Herm, and that time he smacked the ball right back in the face of Stevie Wise.
Did it cleanly, too.
You know Bob Herm is watching this one. Tip up by Wise, no. Followed and filled by Stevie Wise. And we'll get a timeout call. No, we're going to get a 0-0 foul call. That's Anthony Williams. It is a 19-point basketball game.
They don't need that foul. They don't need to stop the clock and put somebody on the line.
That'll be the 4th foul on Roderick Davis. 4th foul, rather, on Anthony Williams. And Norman Williams will go to the free throw line. A very interesting basketball game. It was a 1-point Suburban lead at the half. Williams misses the front end of the 1-and-1. Davis misses. Belton blocks, and Davis will go to the line. And now Aaron Johnson will come back in the game. Young man from Birmingham Seaholm, and Marty Stevens will sit out. Both coaches doing a good job of using all of their players. Unfortunately, maybe recognizing who is playing better with whom, besides the guys that go to the same high school. But maybe a little bit difficult to notice, to realize. I don't know.
Well, I'm waiting for the Suburban squad to start going with the smaller lineup and get some guards in there to put pressure on Jim and to get the ball down quickly and get a good shot. They're going to need to go with some quick guards and some shooters in a hurry.
Williams. Well, those are not the kind of shots you want to take unless Johnny Davis misses. And Lyman DePriest will come over and make sure he is okay.
Good sportsmanship shown there by Lyman. It certainly wasn't an unintentional foul, just good hustle on his part.
Charlie Wingate is going to come and talk about your small lineup. We'll see who he's going to replace. Take a look in after the first free throw by Davis, Dan, and we'll see exactly how that foul occurred. Still going after, still trying to get the ball back. Not much of a foul. Now Wingate comes in.
It amazes me, though, Jim. I mean, protecting a lead, and the Detroit players, boy, they just keep pushing the ball. You know, they're not really looking to come down and milk the clock.
Wingate. Taken away, Stevie Wise. DePriest will let him go this time. 103, making 104 to 79. 4 minutes to go. A lot of great individual efforts here tonight. Wingate follows. He can't get it. Tipped up, no. Kept alive by DePriest. Tipped in by Belton.
Well, this is certainly when the three-point shot would help the Suburban squad, but without that and without the 48 or any kind of a shot clock, Jim, it's going to be practically impossible for them to come back.
Sean Phillips fouls Johnny Taylor on his drive. Check it, Vineyard on his drive to the basket. And now we're going to get another substitution for the Detroiters.
Did I say a shot clock?
Don't mention it.
What in the world would a shot clock do in this game?
No, not. Just use up electricity.
Yeah.
Anthony Williams.
Not needed.
We're going to mention, and Dan's going to mention it in passing, but high school aficionados will know that the three-point field goal will be instituted in all games. In Detroit, each league in the Detroit metropolitan area, each league had an option. And we didn't see any of it at all. I think only one league, the Bi-County League, if I remember right, was using that. DePriest loses it. But so you're going to see a lot of it this year.
Well, it's a new National Federation rule, so people should be seeing it all over the country on all levels.
Well, you think coaches have gray hairs now. Oh, my goodness.
Well, not only coaches, Jim, but officials. That'll give officials even more gray hairs.
Yeah.
That's a good alert call, but while we got a break here, Jim, with the institution of that rule, that's the problem that I see in high schools, is that I see it being a money problem. I just don't see how two officials, no matter how competent they are, can handle a three-point shot.
I've been saying that about the NBA for years, but people that know me know why I say things like that. I know what you're saying, and it is difficult, and plus the fact that you get a lot of the officials that really, they don't do it on a full-time basis.
Sure.
And they're not really trained, and the concentration is trained just from that small standpoint. Phillips with about his fourth block of the game. It's 108-81. We have not mentioned the score because of the fact there are other things that you can watch right now, but we'd rather have you stay here. Watch some of the individual efforts. Derek Vineyard being one of them. Stevie
Beautiful
Wise
pass
another.
By Derek. Great pass by Derek Vineyard there, seeing the open man on the baseline.
And there's your guy again. Driver saw it happening on the baseline and knocked it off of Norman Williams and out of bounds. And according to what I saw the official point at, it's going to be Detroit basketball underneath their offensive glass.
Well, I think the Suburban team is gathering, Jim, to make one last-ditch effort. And it's going to need to take a lot of quick shots, either some quick fouls or some turnovers for what seems to be a miracle to occur.
That's a little bit about Great Bend, Kansas, and where it lies in relation to something we'd be a little more familiar with.
Well, we've been graced, Jim, by the addition of another Detroit player, Jackie Jones, who was on the Michigan AAU team with Derek Coleman, and Jackie transferred to us at midterm and has done a beautiful job academically. He's become eligible, and I think he's going to be one of the top freshmen in the country. He's really made a lot of great progress. But we're a Midwest junior college, rated one of the top JC programs in the country, and we're clean middle America. We don't boast many things, but basketball and backboards. A lot of books, Jim.
It's a good situation, good way for a lot of the kids to get their academic heads together.
It is good. There's not many distractions. The only things for them to really concentrate on, Jim, are their books and their basketball. So we're real happy with our situation there, though. And anytime we can get some Detroit players to grace our situation, I think only strengthens us.
We'll be keeping our eyes on, of course, the USA Today constantly with the standings and keeping track of those things. And local Detroit newspaper says Williams looked like he almost got undercut as he tried to go to the basket. I'm going to say both local newspapers keep real good track of the kids, no matter where they are, whether we're at the major institutions or whether they are trying to get their academic and athletic careers off the ground. Let's watch. Well, we just did see what happened with Norman Williams, and he is up and at him. It is a 29-point basketball game. That answers the question of whether the scoreboard goes up to 100.
Well, when you're in a situation like this, you just need to have your kids just to continue to play hard and play it out well, and not to get out of hand and to try to show some form of an offense. Coaches have done a good job of ensuring that. They've played all the players, and they've all seemed to have a good time doing so.
Norman Williams 2 minutes to go. Can't get that one. Here's DePriest behind the back. That's a treble. Nice pass from Williams to Aaron Johnson.
I think the officials at this stage of the game will just swallow their whistles unless it's really blatant.
Another pass. Well, I don't know about that treble.
I didn't think that was very blatant.
No. I'll tell you, I think the most frustrating thing about that is that Marcel Driver did not get a well-deserved assist that time. Second time the play's gone that way. Wingate behind him to Sean Phillips off the glass. Picked off there by Anthony Williams. A minute and a half to go in the game. A major blowout. And Marcel, heart go up in your throat that time when he...
Beautiful pass by Anthony Williams there. Looking left and passing right. Marcel knew what he was going to do.
Try and round him up at the end of the basketball game and talk to him and maybe get a chance to talk to Lyman DePriest, one of the guys from each of the squads who really were standouts in this basketball game. It's always nice after you make your notes before the game to go back to them and see if they lived up to him. Big, strong, and graceful with tremendous potential to be a big-time player, and I think that's the book that you got on him.
He's got all the tools, all the skills, Jim, to be a great one. He can get out on the perimeter. He can handle it. He's a big, strong kid, and he loves to play the game. And Johnny Ghostin at Pershing has done such a great job with him. He's so coachable.
Pershing, what a great season they had.
Really
Public
did.
School League probably having as many good... There he is again.
A little icing on the cake there for Marcel Driver.
Got him unofficially for 26 points a minute to go. Lyman DePriest, no.
Did he call bank on that? Derek's going to show his thing. Oh, let's have some fun, huh?
Ladies and gentlemen, the man that is sitting to my left tried the alley-oop play, but Lyman DePriest could not get open. Stevie Wise here. Vineyard, yes.
Oh, the crowd's really enjoying it now.
Man sitting to my left will coach, number 32, for the next couple of years at Community College in Great Bend, Kansas, Barton County Community College.
Well, that's not set yet, John. We're still working on that.
Well, be it.
I'm optimistic.
Now, you're the only one that's here. They let Lyman have that one, and we'll see if they're going to give Marcel one more. Stevie Wise will jump it up. It will. He's going to count it. I wouldn't have, but what the heck.
A little bit of irony there, finishing with a 25-footer.
We haven't seen too many. Dan McGovern, best of success with your team in Kansas, and we're going to keep an eye on it because I didn't realize how much of a Detroit flavor your team has, but I'll tell you, it'll be one that we'll keep an eye on, and the junior colleges are going to get a lot of attention around this particular part of the country, and we hope you do find success in signing Marcel Driver, and we'll be looking forward to his exploits as well as the rest of the Detroiters. Thank you very much for coming up here on a short notice. Did a good job, and you know, if coaching doesn't work out, you know.
I don't think there's any threat of that, of me coming up here in the booth.
Our final score, the Detroit All-Stars 124, the Suburban All-Stars 87. That's 211 points. I can't count that high, but we'll come back and talk to some of the participants in just a minute.
A college man. I got me a college man.
But, Mom, we can't afford college.
Nonsense. You worked hard to get accepted, so I'll get you on that bus somehow.
The United Negro College Fund has helped thousands of students, but the fact is, the job's not done. There are thousands we can't reach, not without the funds. So support the United Negro College Fund.
It was a 47-46 Suburban All-Star lead at halftime. if you look at the final score, you would think there might have been 2 games combined into one. But both teams got their running games going, although the Detroit All-Stars had things go their way a little bit more in the second half. And they were led in scoring by Dan McGovern's favorite player, Marcel Driver of Pershing. He had 28 points. 12 points for Paris Candy of Pershing, 11 points for Roderick Davis of Cody. Southwestern C.B. Wise had 10, 9 for Troy Childry. I apologize for calling him Tony. He had 9. He's from Southeastern. Johnny Taylor had 8, the young man from Pershing, 7 for Anthony Williams. And I think we got everybody that I mentioned. Derek Vineyards, 22. He was strong as well. Leading the Suburban All-Stars in scoring, Lyman DePriest with 28, 11 for Norman Williams, 6 apiece for Sean Phillips, Mark Smith, Don Kennedy, Aaron Johnson. Ed Pasquet had 3. Kevin Hall had 2. For some unexplained reason, that just does not add up to 87. But we got these from the official scorekeeper over on the other side of the floor. It's been a very interesting basketball game. I want to thank Dan McGovern for joining me and saving my voice, and also giving you a little bit of an insight of what a collegiate coach, or I should say what a junior college or community college coach has to say about a lot of these ball players and what a coach thinks of when he's watching an all-star game like this. So I thank him for joining me, and I thank you for joining us as well. We look forward to seeing you down the road on CTV 11 Sports. And so, for our entire CTV 11 crew, this is Jim Shaffron saying so long from Oak Park. But once again, our final score, the Detroit All-Stars 124, the Suburban All-Stars 87. Good night from Oak Park.